The roar of the Wimbledon crowd had barely faded when the realization hit the tennis world like a thunderbolt. Eala had done it again. The 21-year-old Filipina, seeded 29th at the All England Club, had just dismantled the woman who had defeated Serena Williams just days earlier, and she had done it with a ruthlessness that bordered on the absurd. She had lost the first set. She had watched her opponent explode out of the gates, firing winners with the confidence of a giant slayer. And then, something shifted. Something terrifying for anyone who has to face her. Eala didn't just win the next 2 sets, she obliterated them. She reeled off 9 consecutive games. She handed Maya Joint a 6-0 bagel in the deciding set. She became the first Filipino in the Open era to reach the 3rd round of a Grand Slam singles tournament, and she sent shockwaves through the All England Club that are still reverberating around the globe. This wasn't just a victory. This was a masterclass in resilience, a clinic in mental fortitude, and a statement to the entire WTA tour that Eala is no longer the underdog. She is the storm. Before the Wimbledon crowd could erupt, before the Filipino flags could wave in the London breeze, there was the pain. The memory. The ghost of a defeat that had haunted Eala for an entire year. Exactly 58 miles away from the All England Club, on the grass of Eastbourne, the young Filipina had come within inches of her first WTA title. She held 4 championship points against Maya Joint. 4. But Joint saved them all, snatching victory in a dramatic super tiebreak that left Eala in tears. The loss was devastating. It hit me quite hard, Eala later admitted. I cried a lot, and I don't think I was able to watch those highlights for a couple of months. That loss could have broken her. Instead, it forged a steeliness that has defined her remarkable ascent. Fast forward to Wimbledon 2026, and the same opponent stood across the net from her. But this was a different Eala. This was a player who had since won her first WTA 125 title in Guadalajara, captured the Birmingham Open crown, stunned world number 2 Elena Rybakina in Berlin, and climbed to a career-high ranking of world number 29. She had every reason to be haunted by the past. Instead, she used it as fuel. Maya Joint entered the match as the hottest hand on the grass. Just days earlier, she had pulled off the upset of the tournament, defeating the legendary Serena Williams on centre court in a performance that stunned the sporting world. The Australian was playing with the confidence of a player who had just slain a giant, and she carried that momentum into her second-round clash with Eala. She came out firing, her ball striking crisp and relentless. She broke Eala in the second game, taking an early 2-0 lead, and she dictated play from the baseline with ferocious intent. By the end of the first set, Joint had amassed 12 winners to Eala's 7, and she wrapped up the opener 6-3. The ghosts of Eastbourne were haunting the Filipina once again. The Filipino community in the stands held their breath. Even Eala, with heavy strapping on her right leg, looked vulnerable. The world number 87 was playing like she could beat anyone. For a moment, it felt like history was about to repeat itself in the cruelest way, but champions are defined not by their setbacks, but by their responses. And Eala's response was nothing short of legendary. After a first set where she struggled to find her rhythm, Eala began to shift the momentum. She started extending rallies, forcing Joint into errors, and taking control from the baseline. The Australian, who had been so dominant, suddenly began to crack. Joint sprayed 14 unforced errors in the second set, allowing Eala to claw her way back into the contest. The turning point came in the third game of the second set, when Eala earned her first break of the match, moving ahead 2-1. The confidence that had been missing in the first set began to flood back. She broke Joint again in the seventh game, and served out the set with ice-cold composure. The match was level, and the momentum was now firmly in Eala's corner. I really had to dig deep, especially after that first set, Eala said on court. Maya came out on fire. She came out ready, and I was expecting a really good match. Knowing that, I really had to dig deep. She was ready. What happened in the third set was pure, unfiltered brilliance. Eala broke joint in the very first game of the deciding set. She broke her again in the third game, navigating through 6 deuces to take a commanding 3-0 lead. The Filipino flags in the crowd were waving furiously. The atmosphere was electric. Eala was unstoppable, her ground strokes finding the lines and her net game becoming increasingly commanding. She blanked joint for the remainder of the set, reeling off 9 consecutive games from the end of the second set to complete a stunning 6-0 bagel. It was a complete and utter decimation of an opponent who had just defeated Serena Williams. Eala had just 20 winners compared to joint's 37, but her composure was the difference. She limited her unforced errors to just 18 while joint made 41. In that moment, Eala had not only avenged her past, but had announced her arrival as a force of nature on the grass. The tennis world was speechless. As the celebrations echoed across London, Eala turned her attention to the challenge that lies ahead, a mouth-watering third-round clash with the defending Wimbledon champion, Iga Swiatek. The Polish star, a 6-time Grand Slam champion, represents the ultimate test. But Eala has history with Swiatek. In the 2025 Miami Open, she stunned the world by defeating the then world number 2 in straight sets. Swiatek got her revenge a month later in Madrid, but the head-to-head is tied at 1-1, and the rubber match is on the sport's most hallowed stage. Swiatek is wary, calling Eala's game tricky and admitting that on grass, it becomes even more tricky. Eala is ready. "I think it's going to be tough for me," she admitted. "I'm going to try to make it tough for her, as well." With her victory over joint, Eala has already secured at least £160,000, approximately 15.1 million pesos, in prize money, and etched her name in the history books. But she isn't finished. The world expected this Wimbledon to be a coronation for Swiatek. But Eala has other plans. Her masterclass against joint was just the opening act. The main event promises to be a battle for the ages, and the tennis world is watching with bated breath.